So दोस्तों आप लोग सुन रहे हैं, देख रहे हैं, कहते सुनते. We are live on Facebook, we are live on YouTube, and we are talking about many things. And मैंने जैसे पहले कहा था, I'll be introducing you to an Indian artist living in Sydney, Anupama Bhattacharya. Or Anupama is an accomplished artist. She has participated in many art competitions, and I want to talk to her basically about her journey into art and what motivates her and her entry into the Archibald Prize and many other things. So I welcome Anupama. How are you doing?
I'm doing well. Thank you for inviting me to this show.
No, absolutely. It's a pleasure. And look, art is something that keeps us healthy, I think, emotionally, mentally. And I think you're doing some work in that field about how art can help people work with things. Is that correct?
Not actually doing a lot about it. Like I'm a teacher.
Yes.
So I use a lot of art when I'm teaching my students as well, and talk to them about various ways of expressing what people feel, because that's really important.
Yep.
Not to hold it all inside, but we have some ability to express it. And art is one of those mediums where one can do that really well.
Yeah. So we'll talk about that in detail, but I want to talk about basically, tell us about your journey. And you said you're a teacher. Do you teach art in school, or is that one of the things that you also do?
No, I don't teach art. I teach English.
Yeah, you teach English. Okay. Yeah.
Yes.
So both of you are English teachers. Okay. So
yes.
And of course, teaching English is also involves art, because you're talking of different forms of narratives, plays, writing, and all the creative aspects of art, of course. But how did you get into this painting business?
Well, I have always been an artist. I started painting when I think I was about 5-6 years old.
Wow.
And it has always been my passion. Even though I never formally followed art, I have always, like whenever I was stressed, I would just sit in a room and paint. So that has always been something that has been special to me. But I stopped painting for a while when for 16 years, I was working in a high-stress corporate setup. So I stopped painting around that time, but then I stayed home for some time and I took it back up again and I really felt good about it. So then I started participating in different competitions. I started taking in some commissions. I've sent my paintings to US, to Melbourne, to different places where
Wow.
people have commissioned my paintings. So yeah, it has been an interesting journey.
And did you formally learn it, or you self-taught, or you evolved? How's that?
Well, it's a combination of all of that, mostly self-taught. But I have done some courses with the Sydney Art Society, Sydney Art School here in Hornsby, and have taken some lessons with online classes as well. But I would say mostly self-taught.
Mostly self-taught. Okay. And out of the Indian artists, who sort of inspires you? Who motivates you?
I can't really name any one particular person. I'm more of a fan of Van Gogh and some of the Renaissance artists.
Yeah.
I'm actually not all that familiar with Indian art.
Okay. All right. And what about the ancient Indian paintings? Does that inspire you? Have you visited that, or?
Yes, I have.
Yeah.
In fact, what really inspires me is the symbolism in some of the spiritual context. And if you notice the painting that I am submitted for Archie's, I've used the Nataraj symbol.
Yeah.
So more than the actual Indian art, it's the symbols and the meaning in Indian culture that inspires me.
Okay. And is it infectious? Are you giving it to your children also?
I don't have children.
Oh, I'm so sorry. That's a wrong question then. Yeah.
But yes, I definitely do a lot of painting with my niece, and I hope that she would continue doing that because she's a great artist as well.
Okay. So, yeah. All right. So tell me about this Archibald Prize. I know it's a very prestigious prize in Australia. Probably, I think, the top prize for painting. And we are lucky that it's in Sydney, portraits, yes. And so tell us about it. What do you know about the Archibald Prize?
Well, the Archibald Prize actually started in 1921. So it has been more than 100 years that it's been established. And as you correctly said, this is one of the most prestigious portrait prizes in Australia. So the requirement for Archibald Prize is that the person whose portrait we submit has to be someone who is well known, well established, and has had a significant contribution to art and culture in Australia. So you have to have some live sittings with them. You can't just work from a photo. So what artists look for is basically an original approach, but also at the same time a certain level of skill, like the finishing has to be good, the ideas have to be well developed.
So
And
yeah, sorry, go on. Sorry, go on.
no, so the finalist will be announced on 30th of April, and fingers crossed, I get in or I don't, doesn't matter either way.
Yeah.
But then the exhibition of the finalists will be happening in the New South Wales Art Gallery between, I think, 9th to 16th May.
Okay. I mean, look, as we all know, when you submit something, you've done your bit. As long as you've given it your creative best, I think that's all we can do. And then, of course, then the powers that be decide what they think. So I don't think we need to be too concerned about that. But is this the first time an Indian, person of Indian origin has submitted an Archibald entry using an Indian person as the...
Well, I don't know about submissions because we never really get to see the submissions unless they go into the finals.
Yes.
But I have seen some Indian names in the list of finalists, but I've never seen an Indian subject.
Okay, all right. So
that
okay.
would be a first. And that was one of my ideas because Saurabh and I, my husband Saurabh and I, we go to a lot of these exhibitions, and we see that in the mainstream Australian media, there is very little representation of Indian characters. So I wanted to choose someone Indian for my model, but also I wanted to represent something that also symbolizes the Indian culture.
Yep. So for people who don't know, who is the subject of your portrait?
Well, I think most people would know him. He is Avijit Sarkar.
Yes.
I think a very well-known name in the Indian community.
Yeah, especially in the arts field also, yes.
Absolutely. Like, he is a singer, he's a musician, he's an artist, he's a satirist, like a very multifaceted person.
Yeah, and you used Avijit as the prime person जिनकी आपने portrait बनाई है. And how long were the sittings for? Was it painful? Did he have to sit in a particular pose? Did he get cramps? Yeah.
I didn't ask, but I did ask him to sit down on the floor when we were doing the mock-ups. I had to start with some photo shoots, then did some sketches. So yes, I think it was a little bit painful for him, but he was actually a very involved subject. And I think that was the beauty of it, because as I created mock-ups, I constantly asked him for advice as well. And he had a lot of feedback to give, things that could be improved. So it was a very collaborative project. It wasn't just that he was the model and I was the artist, but it was more collaborative.
Fantastic. But why Avijit?
Well, I think the reason is I was thinking of creating a portrait, and I was trying to think who I could use as my model. And Saurabh, he started his lessons with Nataraj. And prior to that, I had heard Avijit, as I call him, sing, I think, in 2020. And what I was fascinated by was his voice. Like, I could just sit down and listen to him sing. He has that kind of an amazing voice. So I started discussing this idea with Saurabh, and he immediately called Avijit and says, "Oh, what do you think about it?" And he said, "Yeah, absolutely, let's do it."
Yeah, he's a great sport, yeah.
I know, yes. But I felt that because of his accomplishments as a person, as his contribution to art and culture, he obviously was the right person. But I also wanted to paint someone who I would admire, because otherwise the painting wouldn't have that life in it if I don't connect with what I'm doing. So because I admired him, his singing, he made a really good subject, but also at the same time, he has such an interesting face. Like it's an artist's dream to try and capture that. And I have to tell you, like, I went through probably about 10 layers
Acha.
to really try and capture that smile that he has.
A very gentle smile.
Yeah. So that's why I decided to work with him, because he was like the perfect subject that one could have for a portrait like this.
Fantastic. Okay, now coming back to the place of art in as a therapeutic tool. So I believe you've done some work in that. So tell us, what does that entail? How does art help us?
Well, I think a lot of people struggle to express what they feel, particularly in words. And because art does not require words, when you are using these colors, when you are trying to paint something, it becomes something like a catharsis, because it is not forcing you to say something, but you get to express, you get to feel what you're trying to say. So you're not trying to hold it back. And I think that's the therapeutic aspect of it, that you get to express without being restricted by the kind of words one can use.
Yeah.
So I have also seen that when I'm teaching my students, even though I teach English, I do use a lot of art. I get them to visualize what they're thinking. And sometimes I see that students who struggle with essays or formal writing, give them something to paint and express the same idea. And suddenly they become like really engaged and really fascinated by that concept. So I think this is that kind of a dual approach that one can take to understanding students, but also as well understanding humans as well, and also for self-expression.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's fantastic. And also to pass on the mantle to young students, I think that's a great thing to motivate them and to get them, thinking about art. And congratulations on the entry. हमारे लिए तो भाई यही है कि आपने paint किया, enter किया. I think that's congratulations. Of course, as Suman Mathur is saying, that it's in our vested interest that you win. What does she say? We have a vested interest in you winning that competition, Anupama. That's what Suman Mathur is saying.
Thank you.
So you got some good wishes there. You got some people rooting for you. And so all the best for that. 30th ko, win, lose, I don't care. But please keep us informed. Okay? And I'm sure we'll if in future, when the results are out, we'll share your painting of Avijita on Kehte Sunte sometime. All right?
Thank you very much.
Thank you for your time. You look after yourself, Anupama. All the best.
Thank you.
And
Thank you.
I hope you make it there. Thank you. Yeah.
Thank you.
So bye-bye. So that's Anupama Bhattacharya, who's made an entry into the Archibald Prize, and she's painted Avijit Sarkar's portrait as